on too long. And then eventually mom and dad pass away. We almost don't know how to grieve the relationship. Because we start off by grieving, well, I miss them. And I'm not going to see them. Because that's the most obvious ways we know to grieve. I grieve the absence of their presence. And as I think this is how I'm supposed to grieve. But then it's like, there's something else going on here. I mean, it's been 2 years. And I'm like, I'm stuck. It's not following a kind of a normal grief resolution trajectory. And that's because there's extra layers that have to be grieved out. And that when there's role reversal like that, I'm just using this as an example, sometimes we can feel like, I didn't just grieve a parent, I lost a child. When you're taking care of someone with addiction, it's like that they become a child almost, and so it's like, I'm grieving the loss of my mother or father, but I almost feel like I lost a child because of the role reversal, because I had to take care of them. And I had to shoulder burdens way too early than I should have. And then there's another layer of grief. So I'm grieving them as a parent, but also as this child that I lost to whatever. They didn't take care of themselves or addiction or something else. But then I'm also grieving this role that I had to play. That I lost my childhood too soon. I didn't experience that carefree childhood enough. And I was saddled with terrifying worries and fears way too early. Then that has to be grieved. And so you can see there's hidden layers of grief that have to be addressed sometimes. And that once we gain this knowledge, if this resonates, and we go back and work through those layers, it works. 100% works. And we change. And say, and then all of a sudden, we didn't get to anniversary reactions yet. That's one of my favorite topics. But when that anniversary rolls around, we're not blindsided. We're not laid low, which anniversary reactions can do to us. We're okay. It's like, I'm okay this year. Normally I couldn't get out of bed for a week, because I didn't grieve enough. And that's what will happen with unresolved grief or complicated grief. When those anniversaries roll around, we dread it. It's awful. And then all of a sudden we go back and okay, I didn't grieve enough. Let me take care of these complicated layers to the relationship. And all of a sudden that anniversary rolls around. That was easy. Not easy, but it was okay. Instead of it laying me low for a week, it was just a day. I was a little pensive, but it was a peaceful grief. And that's the goal, really, is for grief. Grief, of course, really never goes away, but to be peaceful, that it becomes a friend, not a threat. And when that anniversary rolls around, we go through it with a sense of peace. And we still shed tears, of course, but it's not traumatic. But when it feels traumatic, and when the anniversaries feel traumatic, often there could be some complicated grief occurring there. And so, I'm sure there's other examples, of course, of complicated grief. And we, if God forbid that, this is a sensitive topic, but if somebody died suddenly, and maybe, we're not perfect. Our last words maybe weren't the best. That happens to all of us. Where we just don't know when something's going to happen to us or someone else, and maybe it's like, that last conversation, that last phone call or interaction was not ideal. That can lead to complicated grief, and so sometimes there has to be forgiveness. So if we're not forgiving ourselves for something, that can lead to complicated grief. And but even if I remember somebody I can think of had it because